huge amounts of money, making it less effective, in fact. So my question to you is a very simple one. You mentioned during the Reagan years, actually, defense spending was cut. Do you believe that given the enormous problems facing our country in terms of infrastructure, and poverty and healthcare, et cetera, do you believe that we can maintain the kind of strong military that we need?
Folks, several Americans will finally receive their $1,400 stimulus checks, after several states have finally banned debt collectors from seizing stimulus checks from Americans. Economists are now urging President Joe Biden to pass another round of stimulus checks, as many governors are deciding to stop providing unemployed workers with the extra weekly $300 payment. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Hope all of you are having a great day so far. Now this is your stimulus check update. But first, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, turn on the post notifications, and give this video a like. Now some state lawmakers are pulling the plug on enhanced federal unemployment benefits. Since the onset of the crisis, every state has accepted federal unemployment aid that enabled them to distribute benefits to out-of-work people who normally would not qualify for them. States have also been handing out extra federal benefits, including an additional $600 a week at one point, to all unemployed workers on top of their state benefits. These enhanced unemployment benefits were set to expire in September, but a growing number of states want to end them sooner, in part because of mounting complaints from employers who cannot fill job vacancies because they say overly generous federal unemployment benefits are keeping would-be workers at home. Everybody, some 18 states are opting out of federal unemployment benefit programs. The states, which all have Republican governors, include Alaska, Alabama, Arkansas, and Georgia, just to name a few. And leader Mitch McConnell even told reporters last week, "We have flooded the zone with checks that I'm sure everybody loves to get, and also enhanced unemployment." Some economists say that pulling the plug on federal unemployment benefit programs, which were originally enacted under the CARES Act in April 2020, when some 23 million Americans were out of work, will encourage more Americans to seek out employment opportunities. Almost 2 million Americans will lose their unemployment benefits early as a result of states' decisions to cut off federal aid to workers. President Biden acknowledged that some employers are having trouble filling jobs. That's when he spoke about the jobs report last week. But when Joe Biden was asked if enhanced unemployment benefits kept some workers from returning to work, he said, "No, nothing measurable." Some economists say that pulling the plug on federal unemployment benefit programs, which were originally enacted under the CARES Act in April 2020, will encourage more Americans to seek out employment opportunities. About 2 million Americans will lose unemployment benefits. Everybody, employers in those 18 states will not have to raise wages to compete with unemployment benefits that in some cases exceed their state's minimum wage. Last month, the United States added 266,000 jobs, far below the 1 million jobs that economists were forecasting. Meanwhile, there are more than 8 million unfilled positions in the United States, according to the Department of Labor. But initial jobless claims dropped to a crisis low of 473,000 last week. In addition, everybody, a bill proposed by Senator Ron Wyden and Michael Bennet would broadly reform the U.S. unemployment system, seeking to plug gaps in a safety net for jobless Americans in response to the crisis and put states on a more equal footing. The legislation will raise the amount and duration of unemployment benefits and expand the pool of workers who qualify for aid. The bill is called the Unemployment Insurance Modernization Act. Such workers who are typically ineligible for state aid would qualify for a $250 weekly job seeker allowance benefit, paid for by the federal government for up to 6 months and indexed annually for inflation. The amount and length may increase during times of high unemployment. Similarly, state benefits would also be more responsive to economic downturns and rising joblessness. I personally believe, everybody, that the Unemployment Insurance Modernization Act is a great bill. It is really important that the Biden administration and lawmakers pass more relief for Americans that are struggling financially. Thank you for watching, everybody. I truly appreciate everyone's amazing support. Until next time, have a great day and stay safe.
Well, that's right. I mean, they do want to raise taxes, but they want to raise regressive taxes on working families. I come from a very rural state. People drive long distances to get to work. Apparently, McConnell wants those folks, working people, to pay more in taxes. I want large corporations, some of them haven't paid a nickel in federal income tax last year. On the committee and our witnesses for being with us this morning. It is no secret that as a nation we face enormous needs. Over 90 million Americans today are uninsured or underinsured. Almost 600,000 Americans are homeless. Our child care system is dysfunctional, and we have one of the highest rates of childhood poverty of any major country on earth. And I think we are all in agreement that our roads and our bridges and our infrastructure are in terrible shape. And in my view, we face the existential threat of addressing climate change, which could wreak havoc on our country and the world. In other words, there is an enormous amount of work that has to be done, and much of that work will be very expensive. For that reason, we as members of Congress have the responsibility to make sure that our taxpayer dollars are spent wisely and that they are spent cost effectively. And that is true whether the issue is healthcare or education or anything else. It is certainly true when it comes to the Department of Defense, an agency with a budget of $740 billion, by far the largest spending category in our discretionary budget, consuming more than half of all discretionary spending. In my view, the time is long overdue for us to take a hard look at the enormous amount of waste, at the cost overruns, at the fraud, and at the financial mismanagement that has plagued the Department of Defense and the military-industrial complex for decades. And today, that is exactly what we will be doing. At a time when we have so many unmet needs in America, we've got to ask ourselves why we are spending more on the military than the next 12 nations combined. Why is it that the United States of America is now spending more on the military in real inflationary adjusted dollars than we did during the height of the Cold War or during the wars in Vietnam and Korea? Why is it that the Pentagon remains the only agency in the federal government that cannot pass an independent audit 30 years after Congress required it to do so? How does it happen that about half of the $740 billion annual defense budget goes not to our troops? Many people think that it does, but it doesn't, but to defense contractors, while virtually all of them have paid huge fines for misconduct and fraud while making massive profits on those contracts.